Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, and we're gonna have some fighting words. So in this video, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen it already, the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, the press conference. And it's not quite what we all probably thought it was going to be, although there were definitely little specks of what we thought it was going to be there. I'm pretty sure everybody was thinking we were going to go into all the controversies and the glove and the spiked water and Mark Breland and yada, 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 yada. And we didn't get any of that. And to be honest, I'm actually happy that we didn't get into any of that. I feel like that would have just totally killed the press conference. I feel like it would have turned it into like some type of big cat fight or something like that. Like, you said, no, they said, or all that. So I really didn't want that anyway, to be honest with you. I wanted two guys who were very concentrated on each other and there for a purpose. So let me just start with the fact that Deontay Wilder is sitting there with headphones on. And after he says his opening little, rhyme / speech, he was done. He was done. He didn't want any more of that press conference. He didn't want any more of, the questions or anything like that. He was ready to go. He was animated, like in a quiet way. Like he was saying a lot and said nothing at the same time. The same way that he's been this whole time with the arbitration, the whole time with Fury, and his comments to him, the same way he's been also this whole almost year now. No, it's been about a year, I believe, with all the speculations and everything like that. We had so many people saying and speculating what's going on, and yet Deontay Wilder didn't say anything until like 2 weeks ago. Like he verbally didn't say anything. He just allowed the world to believe what everyone wanted to believe. It was very intense. It was very intense. With Fury, you never really know what kind of Fury is going to walk into the room. Fury's the type of guy who plays off the energy of the other guy. If his opponent doesn't give him any energy to play off of, as you can see today, it can be pretty mellow. He needs that. He needs an opponent. He needs somebody to beat up on. But if there's no one to beat up on, he's gonna be pretty mild and pretty respectable. I mean, he did have a few moments where he said, "Oh, I'll play the role of Deontay Wilder." Because he's not talking, so I'll do it. This is a press conference. We are trying to sell this fight. Which, side note, this fight is selling. Contrary to what people made it out to believe that nobody wanted to see this fight is selling. It's selling tickets. So apparently, people do want to see this. Hence, it has everything that you'd want for a perfect storm. You have vengeance, you have conspiracy, you have flat out hatred for two combatants. They don't like each other. And they also have two other fights, both controversial. People forget that the first fight, Fury got knocked down twice, but the second time, if you do the count, on the count, it's like 13 seconds, something like that. He clearly was counted out. I'm not going there with the controversy or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you look at it, he was counted out. However, gonna move past that. The second fight, there was controversy all over this thing. Coming from Deontay Wilder's end, again, I'm not jumping into the controversy. I'm just saying that I'm showing how we're building up to something with this third fight. Let me just jump into the stare down. The stare down was a good stare down. It was a very telling stare down. First, I want to say, is it just me or did Deontay look bigger? I don't know. See, if you listen, Fury said that he's trying to get bigger. He wants to be 300 pounds for this fight because he's looking for a one-punch knockout and call it a day. If he could do a classic Mike Tyson and take him out in the first round, it's all gravy for Fury. So if Fury's on his way up to 300 pounds, which he didn't look like he was 300 pounds. He didn't look any bigger than he looked in the second fight, to be honest with you. But he said that was his goal, to be 300 pounds. If that's the case, looking at them face to face, I would say Deontay Wilder's a lot bigger too. He looks bigger. He looks thicker. The first fight, he was like 219 pounds, something like that. But the night of, well, he weighed in at like 219 pounds, something like that. The night of the fight, he was like 211 pounds. The second fight, he was 230. So he looks in shape. I mean, granted, he's been doing nothing but working out this whole entire time. They both look good. They both look in shape. I mean, he looks in shape for, his shape. I'll say it like that. But Deontay looks like he has been focused. He's been in an unofficial camp all throughout the arbitration. He looks good, but the main thing that I picked up on was his size. He looked much heavier, top heavy. I mean, we all know he has the skinny legs, but he looked very top heavy. His arms look considerably thicker and bigger. So I'm like, okay, all right. It's interesting that Theory said that he was going to show up, or his plans are to show up at 300 pounds for this next fight. And I can clearly see that Deontay Wilder's, plans are, I need to be bigger too. I need to be bigger. Because the last two fights, this guy kind of manhandled me, kind of pushed me around the ring. I need to be a bigger guy. Not to mention just to be in the heavyweight division, he needs to be a bigger guy. So let's go back to the stare down. At first, it was kind of nothing. Deontay Wilder has his shades on. Wasn't much to it. It's a classic stare down. Then he takes them off. And you can see the intensity in Fury. One of the things I noticed was Fury was ready to fight in the stare down. He was ready. You can see the hatred in Deontay's eyes. So much so that Fury was preparing himself for a little squabble. At least long enough for somebody to break it up. You can see it. If you look at the stare down, you will see Fury tensing his arms up. He was ready for a squabble. He even clenched his hands at one point as he stepped 1 foot closer to Deontay. Deontay didn't do anything extra. He just gave him that, I'm gonna hurt you look. And that I'm gonna hurt you look was pretty intense. Like, it was pretty intense. I mean, Fury tried to make light of it. He was saying something to Deontay. I really couldn't make much of it. I mean, they didn't have the microphones at that point, but I couldn't make much of it. But you can see Fury even tried to joke around. He was going up and down with Deontay, making faces, balling up his eyes. But Deontay was having none of it. He was just giving him a cold, cold, cold stare. And Deontay also still had the headphones on. So Fury was talking to him. I mean, granted, you could read lips, but still, Fury was talking to him, but he wasn't hearing. The headphones to me just signified what I believe Deontay Wilder was trying to portray was, I have tunnel vision. I don't see anything or anybody on the outside. I just see you. I don't see anything else but that finish line and me standing over you in victory. That's all I see. That's all I care about. Deontay Wilder has made it very clear, this thing about money. This isn't about no belt, money, nothing else. This is about me and you. Deontay Wilder feels like he was wrong and Tyson Fury wronged him. He's here to make what was wrong right. And that's what the headphones were signifying. Now, everybody else was making light of it. Oh, he's not going to talk. Fury even said, well, it shows that he's weak-minded if he won't engage me. But I don't look at it like that. And if he was weak-minded, he would have faded into oblivion. Keep in mind, Fury had already won. Nobody would have faulted Wilder if he would have just rode off into the sunset. On top of that, this fight didn't have to be made. Remember, there was an offer for Wilder for a large purse. Just step aside. Let me and AJ have our fight. So when he says, it shows that you're weak-minded, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. And I do not believe that's what Deontay Wilder was trying to portray. He was just trying to portray, this is not about the press conference. This is not about me taking questions from the audience or the presenter. This is not about money. I don't care about money. My integrity is more than money. It's not about money. This is about you and me. You wronged me, you stole from me, I'm coming to get it back. Before anybody kills me with comments, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just simply saying you can see that that was his mindset and that's what he was trying to portray. I was wronged and I want to make it right. I don't care about anything else. Nothing else matters until this is corrected in my life. Until I have that belt back over my shoulder, around my waist. That's what he was trying to say with that. I don't believe at all that Deontay Wilder was afraid, because if he was afraid, honestly, he didn't have to have the fight. He could have had a big payday and not even put on gloves. He could just be sitting at sitting at his house getting fat, with a big payday, while he and the rest of the world watches Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. So that's not true. So then the stare down goes a little longer. So here's my thoughts on stare downs. I personally love them. I mean, honestly, everything gets you pumped up for a fight. The trash talk, and you play with the scenarios of what can happen and strengths and weaknesses, which is all cool. But nothing says anything like that stare down. It's the last time these two were going to be face to face before they step into the ring and they meet one another. And this wasn't a very long stare down. So much so that the security from the place walks over. Deontay Wilder's entourage is telling security, don't touch him, don't touch him. Malik Scott is in the back and he's telling Shelly Finkel, it's not about anything else. He's not going to move. He doesn't care about pictures. He's not going to do anything else. He just wants to look into his eyes. And sure enough, they're just staring, gazing into each other's eyes. Hatred in both of them, just like darts going back and forth. It was something else to watch. It was good, actually. My thoughts on stare downs is this: the longer you allow the guys to stay there and do the stare down, the more potential you have for a fight to break out right then and there. So was it wise that security came over? Yeah, it was wise. I mean, you could clearly see it in Fury. He was cocked and loaded, and Deontay looked like almost like he wanted Fury to throw the first punch or something like that. Like he just locked onto him, almost like a prey or something like that. Once the entourages got involved, then it turned into something. Normally somebody in a stare down will stand between the combatants. Normally. For some reason, nobody did it. And the entourages were allowed to get close. Normally, they would allow maybe just the trainers to be with the fighter as they do the stare downs. But both entourages came over. Tyson Fury's little brother came over, and Deontay Wilder's, I think he's his bodyguard. But he came over, and Malik Wright came over. Malik Wright is not a small dude, and he's a professional fighter. So that press conference had the potential to blow up. If one person did just one false move, and I don't necessarily mean to hurt somebody, but like if one of the fighters would have taken a step too quickly, the other one would have fired a shot. I truly believe the other one would have fired a shot. They were ready for it. They clearly were both ready for it. And once the entourages got involved, then it was just something else, But it was good. Listen, I'm pumped up for this. I was pumped up earlier for this fight, but now I'm definitely pumped up for this fight. Deontay walks away first. He puts his shades on, and he walks away first. So Fury's entourage is screaming, "Oh, we won, we won." Now, as somebody who's boxed, I can tell you, a stare down realistically means nothing. Like, it doesn't really mean anything if you're boxing. Like, it doesn't, whether or not you stare at me longer or I stare at you longer, doesn't mean anything, And In some cases, it can show fear. In some cases. But however, like I said, this was a fight that did not have to happen. It didn't have to happen. They could have cut Wilder a check. He could have went back to Alabama, bought another mansion, like, and probably some for his kids or something like that. It didn't have to happen. So I don't think anybody's afraid. And if you're gonna, and I'm just saying the truth, if you're gonna say somebody's afraid, if you recall, they had a rematch clause. So if anybody was afraid, Fury went on to say, "I want to fight AJ." That would suggest that Fury was afraid, not Wilder. Wilder had to legally get Fury in the ring through an arbitration. So we don't want to go pointing the finger on who's afraid, because that's not true. You just look at the facts. The facts are Wilder brought Fury to the ring through an arbitration. But Wilder walks away. Fury's team is screaming, "We won, we won." You know, and Fury's just still standing there, and he's just like, he's calling him, you know, obscenities and all these things. Wilder's team, quiet as a mouse. I mean, the same way that they've been. One thing I will say is he hasn't steered away from what he's been since the loss. He was quiet the whole time, including through the arbitration, which I think a lot of that was like a legal thing. You know, you can't really discuss anything. But also, he was quiet during the press conference. You know, clearly, like he said in his little speech, "I'm going to do my talking in the ring. I don't need to say anything else. I don't want to say anything. I don't even want to speak. I'll see you the night of." I gotta tell you, I'm pumped up for this, and like I said, tickets are definitely being sold, so I know people across the nation and world are pumped up for this, and I look forward to doing a fight breakdown for both of them. Yes, we're gonna say, well, they've already fought twice. Do you really need to do a fight breakdown? Yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. Because both of them have new trainers. Even newer, Malik Scott with Deontay Wilder's camp. So yes, I do. Yes, I do. Both of them have been working on new things, and I follow Tyson Fury. I follow both of them on Instagram, and I see little things that they're doing in the gym. So yes, I do need to do a fight breakdown. And yes, I look forward to doing a fight breakdown. And I just gotta say, I'm pumped up for this fight. I hope you are, but tell me what you think down below. And as always, please like and subscribe.